So we got this, and we want to set some attributes on this, right? No more hard coding interval. We want to pass, the developer wants to pass a different one, and we need to get this. So it seems like it's not a big deal, right? If I just get this attribute, interval, and then assigning this variable here, I'm done, right? First I need to go to the right folder. Okay. So there it is. I'm setting 1 second interval and I'm putting out here. Right? Cool. That sounds about right. But what if I don't want this attribute anymore? I want to define this element again, but in this one I don't want this attribute. So what's going to happen?
The default.
So we need to set some default one, some default value. If I remove this, where's the value of this? Null. It's like getting crazy. It's setting null to the set interval. So I need some kind of if statement to prevent that, right? So I'm just gonna say that if interval different than new, I can do this or just this. Just make it more explicit. If interval it's not new, null, then I'm just gonna set interval. Now, so if it's not new, null, it's okay. If it is null, we can just set to some different value, like 300, right? I can add an attribute. One second, and now I have 1 second delay, 1 second interval. Got it? Makes sense? Just checking out if there's an attribute here or not. If this element contains an attribute or not. Cool, that's good, that's good. Not too much code. But what if I change the value of attribute? This attribute, just put 100. Now we have a problem, right? We changed the value of the attribute and we didn't update it here. Right? So in order to do that, we need to call that attribute change callback. Look at the size of this function, come on. And then I have my attribute, I have the old value, I have the new value. Just console this, just to check if this is working or not. Okay. change the value. Now I have interval that changed from 1,000 to 100. Cool. We can just go ahead.
So you don't really need anything inside the function there, it just does it.
Where?
Where you have the console logs, or attribute change callbacks, that can be empty?
No.
No?
No. Because what's going on here is like, I'm changing the value, and it's not updating my interval.
Well, it's not, okay.
It's not. We need to do something about this. So we need to like change this number over here. We need to do some kind of thing to change this. So I don't know, maybe we can extract this whole thing and put it into some function like, I don't know. How can we call this? Blah blah. That's a good name for a function. So I'm just going to call blah blah in the beginning. So when I create my element, I'm going to get the value of the interval attribute. I'm going to check if it's null or not. If it's null, I'm going to put some default value. And then I'm setting the interval. But I need to do this when my element changed as well. Because that way I can go back and get the attribute and get some value. But wait, I'm going to create a new interval, so that's a big problem. So I have to clear my interval. Clear interval. This dot timer. Right? This is what we need to do in order to not duplicate code. Let's check if this is working or not. Not sure.
Yeah, before I added clear interval, I had like, a sporadic kind of flashing because both were running.
Exactly. If I don't add the clear interval, I'm going to create new set intervals.
And they're both running.
And it's going to blow up. So I'm just going to change my value now to 100. Let's see if it works. It worked. So there's a lot of edge cases that I need to take care of. I need to take care of default values. I need to take care of changing attributes, and my whole component needs to behave if those actions occur, right? So that's why this is one of the things that Polymers helps with. And right now we're just looking into one attribute changing. Imagine we have something different, like
Yeah, but Zeno, we got the blink tag. How much more do we want to create? That's good.
that's good, right? That's enough.
That's all we need to make our websites live.
They're gonna wrap the body tag in the blink tag. The whole thing, not the whole thing.
No, we'll buy the domain epilepticseizure.com.
Then you're live at that point.
So let's say we have an element called my car, which has make, Chevy, name, cruise, year, 2015,
Color.
trunk, open, equals true,
Body stored.
and all that. Color, gray. So we have all those attributes, and I can just, if I want to get the value of all those attributes on the attach callback, I'm going to need to query select them, like get the attribute, not query selector, but get attribute of make, name, year, all this. And what if the user set some year that is not a string, needs to be a number? I need to validate that because I want the year to be a number. I want this to be a Boolean, needs to be false or true. So I need to get all these attributes. And when those attributes change, I need to update whatever my element is doing. So doing that all the time, like having one attribute and doing all that behavior we did one time was fine. But if we have a lot of attributes, it gets really hard to keep track of what is the value of name, what is the value of year right now. And it gets really complicated. And that's when Polymer starts to help us. So remember we're talking about this, having those properties. So what Polymer does is this attribute deserialization. It will get the attributes that we define in our HTML and update these properties. And I can also just set the default value right from here, so I don't need to care about all those stuff. So based on what we did, let's go back to this element that we have created before, the FCC blink tag. That element using Polymer. So go back to that file right now, all of you. Let's open that. So we got that file open. Now I wanted to add this interval property, this interval attribute, and update your code. Just like we did with plain JavaScript, let's do with Polymer right now, using this properties definition, okay? Let's do this. And this is the last blink thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna move on to a much funnier example.
Marching ants?
What?
Marching ants?
No.
You remember that tag?
No.
Yeah,
Marching ants?
Yeah, that used to be an HTML tag.
so
Marquee? No?
you, it's kind of like a border that's a dotted line, but the dots move around.
Maybe it's marquee, I don't know what that was called.
And then marquee is the moving text.
Marquee was the